TOA community, Robert Linkul, training the older adult. Welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. I wanted to talk to you today about number one, an article that I was just interviewed for. A gentleman from On It Fitness is writing an article that is going to go into PubMed. And he interviewed me to get my opinion on this and everything that we're going to talk about here. So as that article comes about, I will be sure to share it out with everybody. We talked for about an hour and I gave a lot of information. So I wanted to kind of recap a little bit about this particular article that he was referencing and wanted me to comment on. And we'll go from there. So this is the effect of intrapersonal and interpersonal behavioral change strategies on physical activity among older adults. So basically, they had 309 community-based adults, 70 years or older, who participated in a physical activity routine. I believe it was 3 days a week, and it was a basic like 10 or 12 station resistance training program, okay? So what they did with the group is they split them up. They had a control group where they just went to lift weights and then come back, and that's all they were given. They were all given the same program too. It's got an acronym to it up there somewhere. It's a good program. When I looked at it, I was like, okay, this is well-rounded. It's a good program, all right? The OTAGO exercise program. There you go. 17 strength and balance exercises for walking and et cetera. Okay. So there was a select control group where they just went and did that and they were on their own. Another group had to sit down and create goals. They wrote out their goals. They were given instruction on how to, what they wanted to set up as a goal, how to achieve those goals. It was personalized. The training program and everything was really designed for them to do exactly what that individual needed, right? It was down to the greatest details they could give, like a true one-on-one almost strategy. But then they were just handed it to them and they said, now go do it, okay? And then the other group was paired with their peers in a social, a semi-private group, and they all trained together. There were no goals. There was nothing overly personalized. It was just, let's put all of you together rather than the perfect plan for one person. Let's give kind of just a very general plan, but let everybody be together. So the question was, could you do better on your own with the perfect design plan? Or would you do better training with a group of other people and even have just kind of a basic routine? And what happened over this period of time, which was fairly big, they went from November of 17 until June of 21, and then did another assessment a year later. So it was a pretty long study that they were implementing in there. And they found that that the individuals who were put into the social facilitation, this is a word we're going to talk about here in just a moment, a socially facilitated environment of being around their peers and having colleagues that they are going to train with, significantly improved over anybody else, any of the other groups, okay? And out of 309 people they have on there, they kind of give their averages and their improvements across the board, but it showed to be a significant improvement. And beyond that, when they stopped for a whole nother year, they continued to show improvements and to do really well as they continued working out together. And so the question came about, why does this happen? Okay, why is this such a cool thing? And this kind of concluded with, hey, like this 8-week intervention that they did as they continued to do follow-ups and work their way through this, they showed people as for another year just continued to show improvements. And it was by far the best thing for a community-based environment for sure. Individuals that are maybe losing their circle of people as they get older, losing their abilities with the aging curve, and they're trending towards that disability threshold. But why are they thriving in this environment, even with a mediocre, or let's even say a inferior training program? But why did they do so much better in results with a environment in which they were just simply training amongst other people? So my answer back to Sean, the gentleman that interviewed me, was that we have something called social facilitation. And basically what that is the reason personal training and what I do has a career choice, it is a profession, is that the simple presence of another human being there makes that person more accountable to show up, try quite a bit harder. We also bring in the programming and the design, and that's a huge part of what we do. Picking the right stuff for the person is a huge part of what we do. But having the accountability and the motivation of what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. And so there's more to just like, I'm standing here, I'm present, right, than I'm suggesting. But just the simple idea that I am in the room with you, you are going to try harder. 99 out of 100 people are going to try harder. Some people buckle. Some people are designed to be on their own, but this is a very, very small amount of people. Most people, if they are presented in front of others and they say, why don't you do something, they will try harder, put out a greater effort. So to prove this, right, this is a philosophy and a concept that came about in 1898. Norman Triplett was a psychologist, and he was working with cyclists, okay? Indoor cycling, I don't know how the whole sport works, but generally speaking, here's what was happening. It's a relay. It's like 4 guys, and one goes on the track, and he has to do like 4 laps or whatever the number is. But on the 4th lap, as he finishes, his teammate comes out, and the way you pass the baton is you both do the final lap together, and then the first guy drops off, and now that guy has the baton, and he does his laps, however many laps, I don't know the number, okay? So what he would find is from split 1 to split 2, from their first lap to the second, like they'd be able to kind of keep a good sprint. And then they'd get a little tired and a little more tired and a little more tired and a little more tired. And as they continue to go, their splits would just decrease a little naturally as they get more exhausted. But when the other cyclists came out to pass the baton, their effort would go back up. You would see they were getting tired, and then their last lap with their partner present, they would go back up. Their performance would increase. So just the simple presence of that other individual of, I really gotta push this guy to the finish. I need to do this for him. And he's there and we're racing together. The presence would elevate, okay? And then that guy would go and it continued. So to prove this, he brought out, 7 to 12-year-old kids, and he strung out 100 feet of fishing line. And he goes, reel in this fishing line as fast as you can. And so the kids would go, and he would time them, and they would average, whatever it is. Let's say it's 10 seconds, okay? But then and this was individually, then he would bring them out, and he would have 2, one side by side, and they would compete. And the kids would do it in like 8.5 seconds, okay? Like they would all improve their performance because they had someone to compete against, someone to not look bad in front of, someone camaraderie-wise, they could do this thing together and they would have this great effort that they would put in. And so they saw these improvements in performance, right, that were done by the simple presence of that other person being there. To prove this even further, I'm in college. I'm one of the only athletes in my class while we're going through our sports psychology training. And in there, our teacher goes, okay, let's do this test. Rob, go in the other room with one other person and do as many push-ups as you can. And I do, 30 push-ups in the other room. This is a 4-hour class. So we come back, and an hour later, she goes, okay, let's do the push-up test again, but this time we're gonna have 5 people stand around and watch you. And all the rest of us are going to stay in here. You go in the other room with 5 other people. So I end up doing, and there, it's like you're allowed to clap, okay, while I get closer. So I end up doing 35 because I've got some motivation. There's some more people. So then they, an hour later, they go, let's do it again. But this time, I want you to get up on the table and do your push-ups. And the whole class, you can all make as much noise as you want. And they're screaming and they're cheering for me. And I do like 43 push-ups, okay? Mind you, it's my 3rd time giving my best effort over hours, but I go from 30 to 35 to 43. And the effort in that was high. I was exhausted at the end, but showed my performance, okay? So then, just to top it off in the 4th hour, we did it again, and this time there were 5 other people all doing it with me, and the room had to split up and pick who they wanted to watch. And I did like 28, okay? And so what this proves is if you're in an environment where there's one other person present, or one or two, then you'll have a really good performance. But if there are more people watching you, you'll have an even better performance. And if you're put in an environment where you're showcased and everyone's going to watch, you're going to give the best performance, the best effort at least of your abilities. But as soon as it's kind of spread out where not everyone's watching you, now there's multiple different things they can watch. The pressure is kind of off a little bit and you don't perform as well. And that's the difference between one-on-one personal training, two-on-one partner training, semi-private training where there's maybe 4 or 5, 6 people in a group with one or maybe 2 coaches, and then group exercise classes. And I'm not poo-pooing anything. I'm just explaining to you what's going on. In a group exercise class, there's 30 people, there's one instructor. A lot of times that instructor has their back to you and they're participating, they're watching in the mirror, but they're leading the class. It's more of a choreography based kind of thing than it is like, let me go around and personalize. And that's not what it's designed for. It's just designed to have everybody move together. But because there's so many people, there's no one set of eyes is on one person or the whole group is watching one person. There's really no pressure to perform because you kind of blend into the crowd, right? But if you're on the pedestal and everyone in the group is all stopped and watching you, performance anxiety is very high. Performance will go high most of the time. Some people buckle, but most will level up and they'll try really hard. And so that's kind of the best environment that we're looking for performance is, can I get 4 people in this room and have everything kind of personalized to each of them, but have them work together? None of them wants to look bad to the other one. They all want to level each other up. They all hold each other accountable. The effort is high, the energy is high, cognition is high, fun, energetic, but they try really hard. After every single workout in here, clients will say, I didn't feel like coming, but I knew you were going to be here, Linda or Kathleen or Lydia or whoever's here, so I made it. And then once I got here, I'm so glad that you were all here because I didn't want to do this today. And then at the end, they all go, oh, we're so glad this was such a good thing. It's so fun. We enjoy it. And then they hang outside and they talk for a few minutes when I start my next class. And they have this camaraderie and this teamship that they did this together. They stepped up to this big challenge, right? So that's what social facilitation is and why these folks at any age succeeded more efficiently in that environment, even though they were given an inferior product to utilize. So they were given basically a generic program. Again, I'm using that lightly because I'm not saying the program's bad, but it was not personalized to their every need like the other one was, the other group was. They had a far superior product that they were given. But because they didn't have the camaraderie, they didn't have the pressure, they didn't have the motivation and the anxiety of wanting to level up and perform in front of their peers, they just didn't try as hard. And so the results showed. It's a much, not, so what do we take from this? We take from this in terms of understanding, and here's my other slide on Norman. We talked about, the fishing rods and all that. Okay, there he is. The godfather of social facilitation, if you will. What we talk about in this is that, or what we can take away from this is that at any age, training in a group, and that's why you'll see gymnastics, dance, jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, wrestling, golf, tennis, you name the sport, even individual one-on-one sports like golf, like track and field, right? Yes, you've got some relays. Yes, there's a team championship. But for the most part, these are all one-on-one sports. You're not out there with 9 other guys playing football or 8 other guys playing soccer or whatever it is, okay? Tennis, all this, badminton, ping pong, all these events, though they're one-on-one, how do we teach them to people in groups? How do you train them in groups? How do you perform them on a regular basis and compete in groups, in tournaments, and all this where you're all together, you're all lump sum, you're all watching, because this produces the best training environment, learning environment, and performing environment. Now, you could say, well, I had a one-on-one coaching session but on the other days of the week, they're probably with their team, okay? Gymnasts will have a one-on-one training session with a specialist on the balance beam, and then the rest of the week, they're training with their team, right? from handgun training to first aid CPR, anything in between, military, teachers, school education, doctors, everything is done in groups. They're done in teams, they're done in camaraderie building environments. And as that group gets smaller due to attrition, what happens? They get better, they get tighter, they get more sophisticated, they get better at producing their product. And eventually you're left with this elite level group of individuals who are great performance or at the top of their game. And those are the professionals that kind of go out into the world or go out and compete, and they go and do this. But we teach in these environments, these small group environments, 20, 30 people, 5, 10, 15 people into a group or whatever it is. We train in those environments because ideally, this is the best training environment for them to be in. Okay, so you have opportunities here as we're aging to find a group of people, hold accountability, all come together. Even if you're doing just a basic generic workout routine, the opportunity for you to produce great results, keep consistent, make it fun, have good social engagements, and not miss a step, right? That's the key to this is consistency. Is you gotta keep coming back. You gotta keep doing this or else we're not gonna have the great result that we want. But it's such a good strategy and good plan. Even when the study was over, these folks kept going for at least another year, okay? At least another year they continued to go. Now there's some more depth in this. You can feel free to read it and check it out if you want to, but I gave you the general gist of it. I hope you enjoyed this and you got some good understandings of what social facilitation is and how even in this day and age of February 2024, okay, February 29, 2024, we're still doing studies that are proving that even in older adults, 70 plus years old, that we're still finding that social facilitation, semi-private group training is the way to go for the best results, the best community involvement, and the best cognitive stimulating way for our aging bodies to continue to be consistent in producing results, not only in the weight room, but in the cardiovascular field and across the board. All right, that's enough for me. Enjoy. Any comments, questions, hit me up down below. Please subscribe, ring the bell, all that good stuff. We really appreciate it. Continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.